Hello, hello guys, it's Anime with Media, and today we're gonna be doing a rezo or what if. And before we start this, I want to say I'm sorry for the long hiatus. I was kind of having a tough time seeing to continue, and I started hybrid learning, so I went back to actual physical school, so that too. And also, I barely had enough quiet time or thinking space to actually think what I want to make next. So, I was thinking of continuing the Naruto Kitsui Ghost, but I was like, I could do that later. I had this idea, and it's nice, and not that many people do ReZero what ifs. So, yeah. And before we start this, I need to make sure, put on Do Not Disturb, and let's get started. And before, it's gonna be a Fate X30 type of stuff, alright? Let's restart. Now, we're gonna start way before canon. Around the time where Natsuki Subaru is at the age of 10. He is wandering around the street, going to an arcade, and he meets this old, weird guy. He was in a stand. He was interested, so he saw the stand. And the old guy says, "These are my cards. These cards some contain magic." And Natsuki, honestly, he got into anime, so he kinda got gullible. He's like, "Magic, really?" And like, "Can I become like a magical hero or something like that?" And he's like, "Bet, yeah, you can." And Natsuki, still being gullible, says, like, "Can I have one?" And he said, "Alright, and before I give you one, I'll explain the classes. The saber are the bladed weapon users. Most of them are knights, some of them are samurai, but most of them use blades as a weapon. Next is archer. They use bows, but also they are the jack of all trades in the deck. Then there's lancer. They're spearmen and lance users, and they mostly tend to have bad luck. And berserkers. They've lost something close to them, and they do nothing to stop. And they'll do everything to stop whatever took their love away. And they're riders, people who use mounts as mounts, like King Arthur or Medusa. And I meant not King Arthur. What is it called? Sorry about that. I'm gonna pause this real quick. Yeah, I want to say sorry about that. My dad kind of came through the garage. I'm in the garage area. So, anyways, he explains through the cards, and Subaru was listening. Then, for some reason, he felt drawn to the saber card, and he was like, "Can I get the saber one?" He was like, "Oh, I thought you might choose archer because it's a jack of all trades." But Subaru says, "It'll be cool to use a sword, and also I could probably become a knight." And something happened to the card, which Subaru did not notice, but Zelrich did, if you guys didn't get who the old man was. It grew a little bit. He's like, "Oh, so it's gonna be a knight that he's gonna help him become a hero." Because Zelrich, how he came in this universe, he saw the ReZero universe, saw how Subaru Natsuki ended up having to return by death. Different scenarios. He ended up becoming Archson of Pride, Archbishop Sin of Pride, stuff when it has to do with seven witches. So he decided, let's give him a boon before he even starts. and train him to see what would happen, and for his entertainment, of course. So, he said, alright, and he gives the saber card to Subaru after he pays money. Subaru goes to sleep, and the saber card for some reason disappears, and Subaru thinks this is a dream, but then 5 years happen. He's 15 years old, a few more years before canon starts. So he's 15 years old, and by then the magic cards settle in. He has enough magic circuits now, and while he wakes up, he hears a voice. "Good morning, Subaru Natsuki." And he's like thinking he's crazy, but once he does brushing his teeth, he says, "No, you're not crazy. I remember that magic card that you got from that old man? Yeah, it was actually magic. And when you said it contained powers and knowledge of old heroes, it did." And Natsuki be like, "Wait a second. So somehow I gained something that can probably make me a protagonist of an anime." And the voice says, "About that old man is a dimension watcher. He's seen multiple dimensions of you, and you end up getting summoned or isekai, as how you put it, to a different world around the age of 17. And not 17, the age of 19. And there are so many outcomes. You became strong in all of them. It's just that he decided to give you a boon to see if this will help. Now, wait. Now go eat breakfast, do your school life, and once you're done, go to your room and we'll talk later." After he's done with schoolwork and all that stuff, he goes and he says, and the voice says, "Meditate and you'll come to your mindscape." Once he meditates, he sees a forge. Then he sees a big stone hill with a sword locked in place. Yes, if you guys haven't guessed it, he's gonna have Artorias powers. And before anybody says this, he's not gonna change his gender, but his hair color and eye color are gonna change to blonde hair and green eyes. Alright? That's the only changes, and his hair might look a bit more western, and his skin complexion might get lighter, but not that much. Now, Artoria explains who she is, and Subaru's shocked, like, he thought King Arthur was like a dude, not a female. Then he asks Artoria that, like, "Are you gonna train him or something?" And he says, "Yes, I'm gonna train you so you can become the next King Arthur. And by then you'll learn to use all my weapons. My sword, Caliber. Once you're worthy enough to hold it, you become a king. Then you can hold it. Then Excalibur." And Subaru asks, "I thought Excalibur was the sword that you used to pull off from the stone." And he says, "No, I got the Excalibur from the Lady of the Lake. Caliburn is the one that I pulled from the stone. Then you're gonna learn how to use my lance." I remember that she uses a lance. If you guys watch Fate Grand Order, the older version of Toria. But anyways, and you're gonna learn how to use lance after you learn how to. You're gonna learn how to use all my weapons. First, I'm gonna teach you how to open your mana circuits and teach you some Midgecraft, and let's just say plot reasons she knows a bit Midgecraft, like reinforcement, runecraft, and a bit of some elemental magic. a bit of elemental witchcraft. Alright? So, in the Mindscape, he learns the movement of swords, and then once he's outside, he does the physical training part. And he gets more fit, and during the time, his hair and eye color are starting to change. And his parents don't think that much about it because they are European descent. At least they have an ancestor that was European, so they thought maybe the genes are starting to kick in Subaru. So, yeah, and during this time, Artoria taught him how to become a knight. Then he learned sword training with Excalibur Excalibur and the lance, because those are the only weapons he can use right now. He's still not worthy to wield the blade of Excalibur. But he'd be alright. He learned magic. He learned reinforcement, and he learned mana burst. He learned some elemental magic, and his affinity, I'm gonna say that his origin is, okay, Subaru's origin is his origin, and before it, like his first origin is what is it called? Caliber, like sword. Then his second origin is what is it called? This fire. Alright, just fire. So he knows some fire spells. I don't really know any fate fire spells, so I'm just gonna make up my own fire spells. Now we go up to like 2 years before canon. He masters sword fighting. He's close to mastering how to use a lance. He developed magic real quickly. He's a prodigy when it comes to that. Then, once he turned 18, he decided to see if he could pull out Caliburn. While he was going up to pick Caliburn, once he grabbed it, Caliburn asked him questions. And these questions were different to the questions that I asked Artoria. And this time, he does not lose his humanity compared to how Artoria did. Caliburn decided to grew soft a bit after seeing how Artoria endured all this stuff, so it decided to make sure that her people, will not deserve this type of fate. But anyways, let me move this. But anyways, he was able to grab it, so he started learning the abilities. The sword abilities. And he has Avalon too, so he could always heal with the power of Avalon. The Avalon is the sheep to Caliburn or Excalibur. It's one of those two swords. I think it's Caliburn. But anyways. So, whenever he's in battle mode, he gets the male version of whatever Artoria wears. And surprisingly, when he transformed, he had a crown on his head. If you guys don't know where the crown comes from, you are not a Fate fan, honestly. And I'm not gonna explain. Now he started training with Artoria with manners and how to become manners of a knight and a king as well. Teach them about medieval politics, because around the time where he's gonna be isekai, he's gonna go to medieval setting. And now we have the day before canon. Artoria is still there just to be like a guiding voice. He thinks of Artoria as like an older sister, alright? No shipping between Artoria and Subaru, alright? Now, finally the day has come. He goes to the supermarket to bring groceries for his parents. Then once he goes to the supermarket, he gets teleported. Some of his groceries fell, and some of them kept in his bag. Now, he gets transported. He's like, Artoria, is this the place where I'm supposed to be teleported at? And Artoria says, yes, you're gonna be teleported here. And once he gets teleported, yeah, I'm gonna make minor changes. The event with Emilio will be happening a month after he gets teleported, alright? So yeah, it's canon timeline, but the events changed like in a month. Like they've been pushed off to a month. So, whilst Subaru is searching for help, he finds a knight as what the civilians is like, Sir Knight, he explains his situation that he has been summoned here. Like, he was doing his normal chores and stuff, and he's been summoned here, and he's homeless and does not know how to read the language here, and does not have a job. And the knight, using his divine protection, senses that he's not lying. And that knight is Reinhard. And Reinhard takes him to his manor and explains to his grandfather, like, what happened. Like, this guy was summoned here for some reason. And with my divine protection, I figured out that he's not lying. So, Wilhelm decides to like allow him to like stay in the house. And then Natsuki or Subaru asks like, what could I do to become a knight? And he says you have to go to some training before trying to become a knight, and you be part of a noble family. But Subaru says, I already know. Well, back in my world, I was a knight already. Technically, my moniker was called the King of Knights. Because I was able to pull out a sword from a stone, a magic sword to be exact, that only allowed those worthy to become a king to pull it out, so. And I got training under one of the best swordswomen in my world. Reinhard is like impressed, like the King of Knights, that's his moniker, like he's called the sword saint, like he wants to see the medal. So he just uses Caliburn and he gets into his knight uniform, and Reinhard sees this and he's like, it's kinda odd, but not that odd, the armor. And he sees that he has Caliburn and he's like, why is that? Why are you not using that sword? And Subaru says that's Caliburn. Until you prove your worth, I ain't gonna draw it. I'm guessing you're doing the same with that sword, as I can smell with my hand senses. Smells a familiar scent of a dragon. So you're waiting for the right time until you deem I'm worthy enough to draw that sword as well. And Reinhardt says he's impressed, so Excalibur, honestly, he be even with with Reinhardt, but Reinhardt is kind of slightly losing because it's a normal sword, not his sword. Then he says, then Subaru says, it seems that you're worthy enough to use, for me to use Caliber. And he says the same about his sword. They be fighting, and for some reason, the side effects of Reinhardt's sword is not actually, like, it's not draining all the mana around the area while he's fighting with Subaru. Then he notices that for some reason there's a protective barrier. And he's like, what's with this protective barrier? And Subaru says, once I pulled out Caliber and I put on a protective barrier in case of the shockwaves. And he's like, Reinhardt is actually glad that he could go all out without worrying about any consequences. And they'd be fighting like it took 30 minutes. And Subaru got a catch on him, and he picks up his sword, and he does the Caliber and slash. And with the energy fall, Reinhardt was like defeated. Then Reinhardt said, yes, you could join the Knights. So they go to like the capital and go to the station where Knights is, and says you're adopted under the Von Austria family, but you can still like have a last name. And Subaru honoring his mentor, he's gonna go with Pendragon as his last name. And Artoria was like touched in the heart, like her people decided to actually think about her. So he'd be known as Subaru Pendragon, and he's one of the Knights, and he still has his moniker of King of Knights. He's basically better than when Julius hears a person named the King of Knights while he's the Knight of Knights. Like, he wants to test his mettle. And let's just say Julius got clapped, honestly. No joke, he got clapped. And Julius accepted that Subaru was a better knight. Now we get back to Ken. Reinhardt and Subaru were stationed in the capital. Well, Subaru was in his normal gear. He wears some common civilian clothes. Well, he could always change in his knight attire because of magic. But anyways, he goes and he sees Amelia getting robbed, and asks Amelia if she's alright. And she says, alright, I'm just trying to find a person. And he said, that's felt. I can handle it. I'm a knight, so I'll be able to help you. I know where she's gonna go. But seeing how she didn't take the money, that means she's probably hired too. And this is the reasoning. And he gets this reasoning from Victoria and himself as well. He's thinking about this. She took the purse, but only took the insignia, the badge or insignia, however you pronounce that word, instead of like money. So she probably has like a buyer or something. So he goes and helps Amelia, and he asks Amelia like, what's her name? And she says Satella, and he's like, why did you lie to me? You're totally not the jealous witch Satella. Even though you probably might be the same race as her, as half elf and half similar looks, you're not Satella. And Pug says, well, Leah, you kind of lost there. And plus he says, I'm knight of this country. How do I get fooled by that name? And Amelia kind of blushed in embarrassment for her foolishness. And she said, her name is Amelia. And he's like, alright, Amelia. So they go to the so they go to Old Man Rom's place. He knocks, he does the password, the one about poison, well, then the S word of bags. I'm not gonna curse, honestly. I'm trying to not curse right now. So, he does the password. He tells them, like, that insignia that felt stole is actually important, and that's not something she could just steal properly. Once they figured out that you stole it, they're gonna have your heads in the capital. So, me not wanting to, seeing this and seeing that Felt only did this for probably the money that she's getting paid for, decided to like intervene and just stop her from even making the payment. And Felt hearing this says like, no can do, 20 holy coins, and he says, I'll give you 40 holy coins just for you to stop. And yes, Subaru be rolling in that dough. Honestly, he be rolling in that dough. And she'd be like, 40 holy coins, and he's like, yeah, I have them right in my pocket. You can have them. All you have to do is just give back the insignia. And he said, and also the bow hunter said, that can't happen. And he reckon, also the bow hunter. And he's like, oh, who are you? I recognize you. You're Subaru Pendragon, the King of Knights. And the strongest knight in Lagunica. I see. So, this might be a tough challenge, but seeing that you know armor on, Subaru just stops her and just summons his armor and he's like, never mind. And she knew like she gotta do this quick. And everybody's shocked, like, Subaru's the strongest knight in the Lagunica. And he's like, his moniker is King of the Knights, like, honestly. He says, I don't think you're worthy enough to even face my Excalibur, or Caliber, to say the least fact. Well, I'll use Excalibur to defeat you. He goes with Monoburst, trying to stop this real quickly, but she's not giving him the time or day. But yeah, they fight, and he basically defeats her and puts her in magic restraining cuffs. He decided to create them, and it was a big boon in the kingdom. But anyways, he used magic restraining cuffs so she could be arrested. But anyways, I'm gonna leave it off that for right now. I want you guys to like and subscribe, and also comment down below what other what ifs that you guys want me to do, or you want a part 2 of this. Bye.